back to Sack to the Future. This is week number 6. It is a bonus game, and the Chargers, who are one of the two undefeated teams here in Sack to the Future 1962, are coming in to play the Detroit Lions, who honestly have probably been one of the most disappointing 1962 Sack to the Future teams at 2-3. I say that because the Detroit Lions were one of the top teams in the NFL in real life 1962, but more on that in a minute. The Chargers definitely a surprise, being 5-0. You see third ranked offense, 20th on defense. The Lions defense is 27th. A lot of that is due to playing many human teams, but still pretty terrible season so far for the Lions. Milt Plum and the Lions coming out to face the Chargers, who have rookie quarterback John Hadel. So let's get to it here. You see down below some of the scores have happened already, so you'll get to see those as reminders. And we got a Lions van. Hey, Vinny. So Vinny rooting for the number of undefeated teams in Sack to the Future to drop to 1 at the end of this game. And that one other team that's undefeated is the Dallas Texans, who will be playing the Houston Oilers on the John M channel sometime in the next couple days. So that's the big one to keep your eye on. Milt Plum comes out. He's at 69%, 14 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. So it is not Milt Plum's problem that has the, or it's his problem, but it's not his actions that have caused the Lions to be 2-3. Plum from the shotgun on first down. Hits Gibbons for a first down. Or not the first down, but the 7-yard gain. You see Gibbons on the year has 328 yards on 28 receptions, one of those for a touchdown. Now the reason these two teams are complete surprises, in real life, the 62 Chargers were 4-10. And right now in Sack to the Future they're 5-0. You see a nice run by Watkins, putting his head down, getting close to the first down. They'll give it to him. And the 1962 Detroit Lions in real life were 11-3, and the only team that was able to beat the champions of the year, Green Bay Packers. So you have arguably the second best team in 1962 versus a team that was 4-10 and couldn't get out of their own way, but you have the Chargers at 5-0 and the Lions only 2-3. Here's the Lions line: Gonzaga, Sewell, Whitlow, Gordy, and Dan LaRose. Running backs Dan Lewis and Tom Watkins. Cogdill and Terry Barr are your receivers, and Jim Gibbons, the man who's already got a reception, is your tight end. Plum on 2nd and 6. He steps up and hits. Was that Stud still? Pat Stud still, but he couldn't hang on. Defense of the Chargers, Arnie Ladd and the rest of the defensive line there. Chuck Allen in the middle. Karras and Paul McGuire are your outside backers. Safeties, Whitehead and McNeil. Dick Harris and George Blair are the corners. So the Chargers, after week 2, let Jack Kemp go to Buffalo. Paul Lowe is gone. And there's an interception. Plum throws it right into the hands of Whitehead, who takes it all the way back for a pick 6. I was in the middle of saying the Chargers letting some of their stars or nearly stars go from a year ago. Safety Bob Zeman went to Denver as well. But they're just replacing them with rookies and guys who aren't supposed to be this good yet, but they are all performing. Whitehead with a pick there. Whitehead actually was on the team last year as a 16th round draft pick, but didn't play much. Now he's thrown into the starter role, and there you see, pick 6. In fact, the only Charger that, oh no, sorry about that, it's not true. About half of the Chargers were not playing at all in 1960, so the first year was either last year or this year. Well, Bill Plum comes out again. See if he can do something different. And as a Lewis, nice hole, and he gets 9 or 10 yards there. Second in inches. So Vinny likely is rooting for the Lions because both teams he controls are in the AFC or AFL, if you will. So that would make sense to want the Chargers to lose. But is there more to it than that? As far as who I'm rooting for, of course, the two teams I control are in both of these divisions. The Broncos are in the Chargers division. The Bears are in the Lions division. I guess I'm probably rooting for the Lions as well, just because, again, the Texans and Chargers are the only two undefeated teams, and that makes it very hard for the Broncos to make the playoffs if they are chasing two undefeated teams in their own division. That pass is knocked away, and Plum has 3 consecutive incompletions, although one was way worse than that, as it was a touchdown to the other team. Now, again, we showed you Plum's stats when he came out. He has tons of yardage, averaging over 300 yards a game, 14 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So it's really it's the defense who, again, in real life 1962, only gave up 12 points a game. They were the second best defense in all of football. But here in Attack of the Future, they are struggling. And today, it's Milton Plum in the offense that's struggling. John Hale comes out 57% on the year, 765 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The yardage might appear to be a little bit low, but again, Jack Kemp did start the first 2 games. So that 765 yards is across 3 games, which then, if you understand that, doesn't look so bad. Hand off to Lincoln there, gets a nice block, gets a first down, and continues to go up near midfield. A 19-yard run on the first play. And again, there's something, the Detroit Lions, let's see if they ever show you the starters for the Lions defense. If they do, you'll see a bunch of Hall of Famers and stud players on the teams. Rating-wise, they are a fantastic defense. But they're just getting gashed here in Attack of the Future for whatever reason. Pitch out to Lincoln. Another nice block. He jumps over a man, gets across the 50 to the 45, down to the 41-yard line. There is an injury, and it looks like it's to Lincoln's left knee. So Lincoln 2 carries for over 30 yards, but now he's hurt. Well, maybe that's the way the Chargers fall off. Now, the Chargers are not a bad team coming into the season. Remember, much like the Houston Oilers, they were winners of their division and into the AFL Championship game each of the last 2 seasons. This year in real life is the year they're supposed to fall way off. Go 4-10. Oh my gosh, Hadel stands in there, takes a shot, and delivers a beautiful pass to Norton for 23 yards. Tell you what, I mean, letting Jack Kemp go, that's inexcusable, especially after last year's playoff, the drive victory against the Patriots. But this John Hadel has some poise in the pocket. And there's offsides encroachment on the Lions. Roger Brown, a super stud, all-pro defensive tackle, But he makes a mistake there and jumps off sides. Oh my gosh, did they do it again? I think the Lions may have jumped again. Back-to-back encroachment penalties. And the Lions, now it's Sugar's turn. And that's a free first down. And so you can start to see that ratings-wise and name recognition-wise, the Lions have this game easily. But there you see pick sixes, all kinds of mistakes by the Detroit defense. And you're starting to get a sense why the Lions are 2-3 and the Chargers are the team that's undefeated. No report on Lincoln yet, but the Chargers go ahead and give it to the other back there. Here we go. Plunkett, Mix, Frazier, Rogers, and Wright across the line. Bobby Jackson, Norton, Robinson are the receivers. Sorry, Bobby Jackson was the running back, and Kosarek is the tight end. And off to Jackson again. He makes one-man miss at the 5 and gets into the end zone for the touchdown. And just like that, the Chargers get their second score midway through the first quarter. And it looks like the Chargers are going to remain undefeated if the Lions don't pick themselves up soon. Point after by George Blair is right through, and it's 14-0. Here you see the Bears beat the Redskins down below 35-20. That, of course, you can find on this channel that was played earlier. And wow, Pittsburgh destroyed the Bengals. I was going to say, and in the other bonus game, which was on the Vinny X Wolf channel yesterday, the Packers, there it is, were victorious against the Lions to also go to 4-2. So you got the Vikings at 3-3. The Bears and Packers are both 4-2. And here's the Lions at 2-3. If they lose this one, they fall to 2-4. 2 games behind. Oh my gosh, they hand off to Lewis. He gets lit up, fumbles the ball, but big number 75. John Gordy is able to save the day by falling on the fumble. It's a disastrous start to both the season and the game here for the Lions. In danger again of being in sole possession of last place. A game behind the Vikings and 2 behind everyone else in that division. Plum. Shaka, he has good protection. He'll step up, he'll sling it downfield. Nice catch made. Plum finally gets back onto the completion side of things. Hitting Terry Barr for a 27-yard gain. Oh, they are going to put it under review. It seemed pretty obvious that he had both feet in, but maybe did he have control? It looks like he had control as soon as he grabbed it. Doesn't seem to be any juggling there. Does he complete the catch all the way to the ground? Because that's a stupid way of defining a catch that comes way in the future. Of course, this is 1962, but 2018 rules, the catch does stand. So it's amazing some of the things they decide not to review, but they reviewed that one, which was pretty clear. Hand off to Lewis. Lewis is running hard today, 17 yards on 4 carries. Again, in some of the Lions' losses, it has not been their offense that's been the problem at all. So they're not out of this game at 14-0. They can score the points. They just, can their defense ever stop anyone? Hand off to Lewis, slams forward, gets another first down. Plum swings it out to Lewis, but there's a nice play made on the outside by number 47. The corner, no, that's the safety, Bob Whitehead. He already had a pick 6 today. Comes over the big stop there on the edge. Plum swings it deep again right north of the sideline, but this time there's a man there covering. That's Dick Harris, the 5'11" corner from McNeese State. Third and 14 now. The Lions can't afford to have this drive come away with 0 points. Let's see what Plum comes up with. Throws it directly into the ground, basically. And they will punt. Plum now 3 of 8, 30 yards with an interception. Well, the punter, Larry, punts it out of bounds. Probably a good thing considering the Chargers have scored both offensively and defensively already. You don't want to let up a special teams touchdown also in this first quarter. There you see the big one, the Houston Oilers and Dallas Texans. 4-1 Oilers at 5-0 Texans. In 1962, of course, real life, they will meet for the AFL championship. The Dallas Texans would go on to win that game, but it was in overtime, so there is not much of a gap between the Texans and Oilers. Here we go. McCord, Roger Brown, Mike Bundraw, and Leo Sugar across the middle. Schmidt, the middle linebacker. Brett Schneider and Walker are your outside backers. And then look at the secondary. Dick LeBeau and Night Train Lane are the corners. Yale Larry is a super stud. That's what SS stands for. And then, of course, you have Gary Lowe as the safety that is a pretty good player, but appears to be trash when he's with those other 3 guys. He's not, though. He's not trash. He's a good player. He's just not sensational. Now, you might have noticed Bundraw getting the start. So the Lions do have a major injury to Pro Bowler Alex Karras, but still, they had Night Train Lane, Joe Schmidt, Roger Brown, Yale Larry. I mean, these are all pros, Hall of Famers even, some of them. And no reason for the defense to be as bad as it is. There's a handoff to McKinnon. McKinnon gets 9 yards. So with Lincoln out, Bobby Jackson has been thrown into the starting, or the number 1 back, and then you have McKinnon. Jacques McKinnon from Colgate University, the 6'4", 235-pound back, one of the bigger backs here in 1962. Finally getting some playing time. They'll give it to him again, and he'll get a huge hole. McKinnon on 2 carries is at 23 yards. And on one side, it just seems like no matter who's in, they get rid of Kemp. Okay, Hadel's just fine. Lincoln gets hurt. All right, this McKinnon guy will he substitutes great, but that wasn't the word I was looking for. Saying with Jackson, they are a fine combination. And then whatever the Lions do, all these Hall of Famers, they blitz Yale Larry, then the Chargers go the other way. They're opening holes. The Lions Pro Bowlers are jumping off sides. And now we have another challenge. There's Kosarek. This one's not as clear. The Lions, I think he's in, though. I think the Lions might be out of timeouts. Or not out of timeouts, but out of challenges. I'm retarded. The Chargers challenge their first one. So both teams use their challenges very questionably, as the Chargers challenge was ridiculous. The Lions guy was clearly inbounds. This one was at least closer. I could kind of understand why. Maybe just for the fact of giving your defense a rest because you don't know what's going on and why your defense is playing so bad. So it's not as unexcusable, but still two failed challenges so far in the first quarter. Bobby Jackson breaks another tackle, and he's in for a touchdown. And what is wrong with the Lions? They had that tackle. Bobby Jackson just broke it, and then he kept going for his second rushing touchdown. It is 20-0 at the end of the first quarter. Oh, don't forget about the point after. It is 21-0 at the end of one. And number 77 on the Lions loves it. It's very odd. Inside look at what might be wrong with the Lions. Their bench is cheering for the fact that they are down by 3 touchdowns in one quarter. Stott still pulls off a nice spin move, gets across the 25 to the 27-yard line. And this is a blowout. The AFL Chargers just absolutely destroying the Detroit Lions from the NFL. Mel Plum from the shotgun. Play action pass, he'll roll out, deliver underneath to Gibbons, and that's a first down. And now, because of the way the season has gone, 2-3, even though it's early second quarter and there's plenty of time if you start putting points up, we'll see if the Lions panic and go to all-out passing, or if they remember they do have a running game. And they hand off to Lewis, and he doesn't get much, so that's the other reason they might go all-out passing, is if their running game gets stuck like that. There's the big man in the middle, of course, or on the end, Earl Faison, 6'5", 270. And McGuire comes in. Paul McGuire gets the sack on Plum. And the Chargers can do no wrong this year. Sid Gilman having none of that 4-10 talk. He wants to go undefeated here at 62. Bill Plum's going to launch this one deep, throws it into all kinds of traffic, and guess what happens? Picked off by George Blair. The kicker also comes through with... Wait a minute. So that ball's intercepted. By George Blair, but we'll have to see. George Blair was a fantastic kicker. It was 17 of 20 as a kicker. Not sure that he had a bunch of interceptions, but hey, the Chargers are doing everything better in Sack to the Future than they did in real life. 62. Hadel fires to the side. Jackson makes the catch, but that goes out of bounds. So Hadel, 3 of 3. The running game is cruising for the Chargers. The defense has already forced 2 turnovers and scored a touchdown. And Hadel has not thrown an incompletion yet. So it's looking more and more like the Chargers and the winner of the matchup of the week, the Oilers and Texans game, will be favored to meet each other in the AFC Championship game. That's what it's looking like early here. Jackson takes the handoff. On 3rd and 9, they go with a draw, and the Lions are able to stop it from getting the first. Chargers up to 150 total yards already, though. Chargers, Paul McGuire out to punt for the first time. And it's a fantastic punt, but it bounces a little bit too far and ends up being a touchback. So the Lions finally get a break See what they can do with it. You see Mill Plum has thrown 4 balls into the ground, 4 to his own team and 2 to the other team. Lots of tight ends out there. It looks like a running play, but let's see. They will give it to Lewis, and the Chargers just clogging every gap. No gain for Lewis. Come up with 2 tight ends again, but also 2 receivers this time, both on the left side. And this will be play action, and Plum's going to get buried in the backfield. Neary with the sack, and that is more disastrous play. Wait a minute. Ron Neary, a 6'6" defensive end from Kansas State. Originally drafted by the New York Giants, gets a sack here against the Lions, so they have probably played before. This is, of course, the first meeting in Sack to the Future between the Chargers and Lions. And, of course, as of '62, they certainly had never played in real life either. Plum steps up, fires towards the sidelines, and why would you drag your foot? The Lions just doing all of the little things completely wrong. Chance to make a sideline catch there. Yeah, it might not have been a first down, but get your punter out of harm's way, and he can't drag the foot. He just lets it go out of bounds. And yeah, Larry will get the punt off. And it's actually a very good punt. Drives Robinson all the way back to the 33, and decent coverage will stop him at the 41. But still, that ball that could have been inside the 20 had the receiver pulled off the foot drag. But now you'll see the Chargers, who are doing everything right, come out, and if they get any points on this drive, well, if they get a field goal, I guess it's a 3-point game still. If they get another touchdown here, I'm not sure what I could say to keep anyone watching. Now I am bringing this live. I don't know what's going to happen, so I guess I could tease everyone and say watch out for the amazing comeback, but I don't know what's going to happen. This game might have a great comeback. It might end up being a 50-point win, but there you go to Hall of Famer corner Night Train Lane, and let's see if that motivates the Lions. The all-time real-life NFL leader in interceptions comes up with a pick 6. Night Train Lane. Look at that. Jumps up, picks it off, turns it around, and then shows the Chargers that no one on that team has speed to catch him. And he is in for the touchdown, and the Lions have now matched the Chargers at pick 6s at least. Let's see if that starts to turn things around at all. There you see the Dolphins and Raiders in their walkthrough. Didn't put any points on the board. Why would they? You don't want to show the other team what you're capable of when you play for real. The Browns and Niners, another game that's coming up. So we talked about the big one, the Oilers and Dallas Texans, and that'll be on the John M channel, and we're not sure exactly when, but hopefully within the next couple days. John M will also be bringing you the Giants taking on a semi-pro team. So, of course, you know what to do when the John M teams take on semi-pro. You want to watch not for the competitiveness, but see what records will be broken. The Oilers, if you remember when they played the semi-pro team, Charlie Toller went over 300 yards on the ground, and that propelled him into the top spot in rushing. So you might see Webster come up with 400 yards and take it back, or you might see the legendary Y.A. Tittle on 1 foot throw for 9 touchdowns. Any of those things are possible when it's a semi-pro team on the other side. Then we also have 2 games from the Tears 89 channel. Again, they have not been officially scheduled yet. Or the times have not been made official yet, but that will be the Cleveland Browns and San Francisco 49ers, both teams leading their division. And then the second game, or the other game, will be another semi-pro team, the Seattle Seahawks, taking on the LA Rams. So 4 games left. Expect 2 blowouts. But then you could have 2 very good games as the Oilers, Texans, and the Browns, Niners. That is 4 of your division leaders in action. And while I'm talking about anything but this game, you see the Lions come up with a defensive stop. So pick 6 last drive, and now a forced punt on this drive. And maybe if I keep distracting you guys from the actual game, the Lions will get back into this thing. So Milt Plum comes out. He's got to stop giving the ball away and see if he can put a nice drive together here, and maybe we'll have a nice second half for y'all. Underneath the Gibbons, but Gibbons turns it into a first down with a nice run after the catch. Milt Plum has completed 5 passes, 3 of them to the tight end Gibbons. Plum now, here comes a blitz from the Chargers, but Plum gets it out of his hands to Cogdill. And now Plum with 2 straight completions. Let's see if Nitrate Lane has given a boost to the right arm of Milt Plum. There's a handoff to Lewis, and he gets hit behind the first down marker, but he just drags the safety across the line for the first down. That was Whitehead having a heck of a game so far, but there, Lewis just put his head down and drug him a yard or 2 for a first down. I don't know if Whitehead will attempt to hit Lewis high again. Might want to go lower on those tackles. And there you see number 84, Paul McGuire, able to bring down Lewis. Second and 8 now. Play action pass. Plum gets rid of it, and it's incomplete. Dangerous pass. All kinds of charges in the area, but it falls to an incompletion, which is, of course, better than the interception and better than the sack that was about to happen. Okay, all 3 receivers are on the left side. Milt Plum. Oh! He won't get time to do anything as Faison puts a spin move on his man and comes up with the sack. Well, there's Big Ernie Ladd. He likes it. Between Faison and Ladd, the Chargers still have a formidable defensive line. See Milt Plum pointing out what he saw. He's like, see, there was this, and I was going to do this, and it was going to be a glorious touchdown, and then bam, on the ground. If you could give me some blocking, I'd appreciate it. So, yeah, Larry gets the punt away, and we're inside of 2 minutes. Fair catch called for, but the ball will bounce into the end zone for the touchback. And there's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting their first win in a semi-pro, all semi-pro matchup. Look at Bobby Jackson, 10 carries, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, Jackson, to say he's a backup is not fair. In real life, he had 106 carries, whereas the so-called starter, Lincoln, had 117 carries. So they're really 1 and 1A. They're both starters, quote unquote. So Jackson, we knew would be fine, but the real story is McKinnon has been very good on his carries as well. Oh my gosh, the ball bounces off of the receiver's hands and then popped way up in the air, but nobody able to track it down. That was dangerous. Hadel has now completed just 1 of his last 4 passes after having the good start here. He will send all his receivers out wide. Nobody back there with him. And he'll go underneath to Norton. Nice tackle made by Night Train Lane. And the Chargers are looking at a 3rd and 2. Hadel turns, he'll swing it out to Bobby Jackson, who picks up the first down. It was a nice job of tackling by Dick LeBeau there. At only 185 pounds, he's giving up more than 50 to Big Bobby Jackson. But he was able to fight him and go low and wait for help and get the tackle. Nobody in the backfield. Hadel again. The Chargers getting used to this. They'll throw to Bobby Jackson, who was split out wide. And he makes the catch, but tackled immediately by Dick LeBeau again, I believe. So Dick LeBeau showing he could tackle the much bigger Bobby Jackson. And LeBeau is a very good player, so I'm not surprised. Hand off to McKinnon, up the middle. So the Chargers call a quick timeout so that they can run the ball. I guess they were hoping it would take the Lions off guard, and the way McKinnon's been running so far, they would get a first down. But now they hand off again. Bobby Jackson puts his head down, and he does slam forward for the first down. But now the precious seconds are ticking off. 30, 29. And this is odd because the Chargers have done everything right. So to watch this clock management seems odd, but something the Lions need to happen. They waste over 10 seconds there. Hadel fires and hits Robinson right on the money. And they're down to the 27-yard line. So all that wasting of clock is forgiven with a nice throw from Hadel. Now, unless they let it go all the way down to 0, oh my God, they don't call timeout. Hadel throws the ball, and they do waste the entire rest of the. That was absolutely horrible clock management. They had the timeout in hand. They ran the ball, picked up the first down. Could have called timeout with 30 seconds ago. Decided not to. Gets the playoff with about 19 seconds ago. But he completes the pass. So then you can call timeout right there with about 14 seconds to go. They don't. They hurry to the line with about 6 seconds to go. They're lined up. So you're thinking maybe a quick 8-yard pass and then call timeout or something. No. He stands there until there's 2 seconds left and then snaps the ball. And that was just ridiculous. But, I mean, if they didn't have that ridiculous time management gaffe there, the Lions might be out of it. So the Lions are very thankful. That's still just a 2-score game. The bad news for the Lions is the Chargers get the ball first. So if you are a fan of the 1962 Lions, you don't like this game at all, but you may, if you missed the first half, the one thing you may have liked is the Night Train Lane pick 6. Superstar corner, one of the greatest of all times. Bobby Jackson putting his head down and turning a 1-yard gain into about 4 or 5. 12 carries, 77 yards. Jackson having a very good day. There's completion to Kosarek across the first down. John Hadel, 9 of 13. He's up to 98 yards. He has thrown the pick 6, but besides that, he has been very good. Jack Kemp-like, except for he doesn't run around like Jack Kemp did as a Charger. Handoff. Hadel on the money again to Robinson. He's been so accurate, it's like a handoff outside of that Night Train Lane pick. Chargers just gutting the Lions defense again. Handoff to Jackson. He'll go to the outside. Big Joe Schmitz there to stop him after just a 1-yard gain. And there's the handoff to Jackson again, and the Lions come up. That was the other man in the backfield, I believe. No, it wasn't. That was Yale Larry. Makes sense. Hadel has time, gets hit as he throws it, and puts it right on the sidelines for a catch from a man we haven't even heard of yet, Lance Allworth. So Allworth did nothing in the first half, and the Chargers were still able to build a 2-touchdown lead. There you see Bambi coming up with a nice sideline catch there. Hadel, I told you, this kid has poise. He stayed in there, took a shot to the chest, but got rid of the ball right before that and gained the first down. And now he puts a beautiful touch pass into the end zone, but it was he actually landed out of bounds. I don't know who that is. That might be roster filler, and that might be the reason why. That ball had great touch on it. Really should have been a touchdown, but number 42, whoever the heck that is, went for the diving catch and landed out of bounds. Jackson, another big run. 15 carries, 91 yards, and of course the 2 rushing touchdowns. So the 62 Chargers in the what-if matchup, if you will. The AFL versus the NFL, they are taking it to the Lions. Nobody's as surprised as I am, but I guess we shouldn't be at this point. The Chargers 5-0, they're not a joke. They have said, screw your ratings, Madden. We're going to be a good team for the 3rd consecutive year. Hand off to McKinnon, and he will fight, but eventually be dropped. McKinnon only getting these carries because of the injury to Keith Lincoln, which we haven't heard how bad of an injury that will be. Hope to give you an update at the end of the game if there is enough time. We're already at 42 minutes in, so it depends kind of how long this game takes to finish. And that is a penalty on the Chargers for once. So even the Chargers can't be perfect all the time. Hadel underneath the... Who? Oh, that's Burt Cohn. That's who that is. Burt Cohn, of course, the rookie who was drafted by... Wait a minute. Drafted by both the Redskins and Raiders, but yet he's playing here, of course, for the Chargers. A transfer from TCU to Kansas. Or is it Kansas to TCU? Either way, he was both a Jayhawk and a Horned Frog. He fumbled it, but recovered his own fumble, and that allows one of the best field goal kickers in the AFL, George Blair, to drill another field goal. Now Blair, of course, was actually a draft pick of the New York Giants, but found his way over to the Chargers. And again, much like most of the quarterbacks, threw more interceptions than touchdowns, so only the very few Pro Bowl or all-time greats were able to throw more touchdowns than interceptions. Field goal kicking, anything over about 50% puts you as one of the best kickers. So when Blair's stats show that he was 17 of 20 on field goals, then you realize that he was one of the best kickers for the time. There's Lewis with a big hole, and that puts his average up over 4 yards a carry. So at least statistically wise, he's having a decent game. But they need more points. They have no points from their offense. Plum stands there for a while and then throws it directly into the ground, and the coverage was so tight that it probably would have been picked if he really would have threw it to his receiver anyway. Lions down by 3 scores. Milt Plum will get it to Cogdale, but the hit jars the ball loose. There you see Milt Plum having a disastrous day, just 6 of 16. Well, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that the Chargers are 5-0, even though they have beaten a human team. So I guess we should. There's Petrosante. We haven't heard from him yet today. If you've been following Tech the Future, you've seen him in a lot of action as the starting back for the Lions for the first 2 years. He's kind of been relegated to the afterthought guy in the backfield. He's got a little bit of playing time. Of course, he has some receptions and some carries, but that's the first time we've heard from him today. I think he's down to the third string back. And so, just to clarify about Petrosante. Oh. Well, there you go. All right. So the Jackson, who's having a great game, fumbles that one. Jackson gets blown up by who else? Joe Schmidt. And then Yale Larry picks. I'm telling you, this Lions defense is loaded with name recognition. Joe Schmidt pops him, fumbles the ball. Yale Larry picks it up and returns it inside the 1. That's things you expect to happen with all this talent in the Detroit Lions defense. Just not sure why it hasn't happened more often. But if the Lions offense can move the ball just about 18 inches, they can turn this to a 10-point game. Play action pass. Plum stands there and gets hit. Paul McGuire with his second sack, and just like that, the Lions have been able to turn a 18 inches needed into 9 full yards. As you see Vinny's comment below, the Bills and Colts have both lost to these Chargers. So the Chargers 5-0, including 2 wins against human teams. They will play the Broncos twice, and I believe the Oilers once, so you'll see them at least 3 more times. And if they continue to be undefeated, I'm sure the Chargers and Dallas Texans game, especially if somehow the Texans are undefeated as well. I can only imagine that that would be a bonus game brought to you as well. So you might see the Chargers a lot this year if they keep winning. Plum stands there and gets sacked by Hudson this time. So the Lions get the ball first and goal inside the 1. Somehow turn it into a 4th and goal from the 16. And so they will just go ahead and take the gifted 3 points. As hard as they tried, they were not able to get 0 points. But they do rip 4 points off the board and settle for 3. Robinson on the return. Gets out to the 26-yard line. Okay, so the Chargers still have a 2-touchdown lead. They somewhat survived that fumble inside their own 5-yard line. Bobby Jackson, his day doesn't look as good with that last number there, that fumble, but still 17 carries, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Look at the total yards. The Chargers are at 287. The Lions have 74. Chargers are beating them by more than 100 on the ground, beating them by more than 100 in the air. And there's Jackson. Breaks a tackle, gets a first down, and goes all the way up to the 43 before Joe Schmidt tackles him. And if Joe Schmidt would have gotten blocked or caught up and wasn't as good of a pursuer as he is, that would have been a touchdown. But you saw it, I mean, Yale Larry, Joe Schmidt, and Nitrate Lane, and Dick LeBeau have all come up and played very well. It's almost like the Lions still have their stars, but all of their role players are just doing everything wrong. And you'll know throughout history, many of those NFL teams that may have a few stars, even Hall of Famers, but when the team is just off and doesn't work together, then you'll see individual plays like you saw Joe Schmidt popping the ball loose or Night Train Lane getting the pick six, but you don't play as a team unless you're just completely loaded with Hall of Famers across the board. And that's when you get a 2-3 team about to be 2-4. McKinnon picks up the first down. The Chargers are like the opposite. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Chargers still have some Pro Bowlers left. They completely gut the team, but they were willing to take a step back to go with the rookie Hadel and kind of develop for future years. But the team had different ideas. They've come together much quicker than anticipated by Gilman or owner Baron Hilton. And they've produced an undefeated team here. And the third quarter comes to an end. Now, the bottom line is when you look at the scoreboard, if the Lions can stop the Chargers from getting any points on this drive, it's still a two-score game. Somehow the Lions are still in this thing, but it has been one of the most dominating performances we've seen. Chargers, Hadel on the money to Kosarek, and I don't know how there's any hope that you think the Lions are going to start outside of a Yale Larry or Night Train Lane just stepping up and single-handedly returning the ball 90 yards the other way or something. This game is pretty much over. There's a flip to Jackson. Jackson at 118 yards for the day. On top of everything else the Chargers have done right, they've been very balanced. They're over 150 in both the air and ground. Hadel from the shotgun over the middle to Kosarek, and he's down to the 1 yard line, down to the 1 yard line. See Hadel 14 of 19, 160 yards. So the interception and the fumble have directly given the Lions 10 points. The interception was a pick six. The fumble they recovered at the 1, so it was almost impossible for them not to get at least 10. But that's all they got. And now you see Bobby Jackson gets his third rushing touchdown, as the injury to Keith Lincoln has really meant nothing. It's just next man up over and over. The starting quarterback Kemp put on waivers inexplicably and picked up by the Buffalo Bills. Hadel comes in, he's just fine. Keith Lincoln gets hurt. Bobby Jackson has a 3-touchdown game, and McKinnon as his man, I can't think of the word, but as his spellback, has a decent game as well. Lance Allworth makes just one catch, and the Chargers still seem to be unbeatable. 360 total yards for the Chargers, 74 for the Lions. 46 on the ground, 28 through the air. Milt Plum and the Lions have put 28 yards of passing offense, and now it's less because he stands there again for an hour, and Ernie Ladd sacks him. 9-yard loss. That's 7 sacks for the Chargers, 0 for the Lions. If there's one thing that has become painfully obvious, it's the importance of the offensive line. And we have seen the game, there's been some games where one team is just completely superior on the offensive line, and that's when you get these blowouts. Face masking on Blair there. And that's the only way the Lions are going to be able to get first downs, it appears. They need a touchdown this drive if there's any hope. Terry Bear with a nice bar, with a nice diving catch. And Plum is threatening to get to 100 total yards in this one. 100, not 3. Plum averaging over 300 yards a game before this one. Chargers have held him to 80-something. Plum hits Gibbons. Now he's up to 90. It's Gibbons' 4th catch. It's really been where are Cogdill and Stud still? We've really not heard from the receivers other than Barr. Oh my gosh. What? Interesting. So Lewis, Lewis is supposed to go out in the flat, but Ernie Ladd comes in unblocked. So a more aware back, I guess, would have picked him up. But Lewis just continues to run out to the outside. Lets Ernie Ladd come in free, but then watch this. Ladd gets thrown off by Milt Plum, who completes the pass for the first down. That is one of the better plays of the day for Milt Plum. I mean, they still did everything wrong. The back should have picked up Ladd. Instead, he continues to run to the outside, lets his quarterback die. The caveat, of course, is that Milt Plum was able to throw big Ernie Ladd down with one arm. Obviously, Ladd was off balance because that's just not something that would happen. But it kind of reminds me in the real NFL of, how many years ago is this? It's got to be about 10 years ago or so. And Tom Brady, who doesn't run but a quarterback sneak every once in a while, play broke down, and he decided to take off against the Chicago Bears. And the Bears were playing a deep zone or something, so there was nobody within like 15 yards of him when he decided to take off. But he's so slow that after he was about 2 yards across the line of scrimmage, then big Brian Urlacher came, and I thought he was going to light him up and it was going to be glorious. And then Tom Brady, the statue, put a move on Brian Urlacher, and Urlacher completely whiffed and missed the hit altogether, and Brady ended up getting like a 7 or 8 yard gain, one of his longest runs of his career probably. And it was so frustrating. That's what that must have been for Ernie Ladd. But here, another mistake by the Lions. Oh, look at Petrosante. Mittinger with the pick. Looks like he's going to go for a pick six, but Petrosante, who has one of those guys with all kinds of heart, would not let it go. He chased him down and tackled him before the pick six. Bob Mittinger, of course, the 6'2", 232-pounder from Penn State, the rookie who was also drafted by the Washington Redskins, but decided to go ahead and sign here with the Chargers. And so anyone that had delusions of the Lions coming back in this one, that interception seals it if it wasn't already sealed before. Now we just got to see how big the blowout's going to be. Will they get McKinnon some more carries? It seems like a good time for it, although they could just keep giving it to Jackson as well. Not sure if Hadel will throw another pass. And as I say that, he goes with an empty backfield, so clearly he thinks he's still going to throw. Hadel. It's a coach rack, but knocked away by the hard hit of Night Train Lane. 3rd and 9, so failed opportunity there. One of the few things the Chargers have done wrong is they failed to, really the clock management has been the only thing the Chargers have done wrong. At the end of the first half, it was a disaster for clock management, and now they are throwing the ball instead of running it. Oh my gosh, if Night Train Lane could have kept his balance, that it might be 31-17. Night Train Lane steps in front, picks it off. With his speed, it's definitely a touchdown if he doesn't run out of bounds here. But the momentum takes it. He tries to do the tightrope thing, but he was just going too fast towards the sidelines. Look, he tries to turn upfield, but steps out of bounds, and then he knows it, just stops. Well, I guess the Lions technically have life if they can get a touchdown before the 2-minute warning. Night Train Lane trying as hard as he can. Give his team chances. Here's Plum fitting it into Watkins. Plum 3 interceptions on the day. Now they'll hand it off to Lewis. He'll get across the 45 to the 47. Lewis up to 59 yards. And we're down under 4 minutes now. Plum not in a hurry up yet, but he's got to start thinking about it. Gets it out to Lewis, and he will get out of bounds. So that's a nice play by Lewis. Get a few yards, get out, stop the clock. 3 catches for 19 yards for Lewis to go along with his 59 rushing yards. So starting to put a decent game together. Plum goes underneath to Gibbons, who juggled it, so he had to stay there and make sure he caught it. And that allows the Chargers to put a big hit on him. But Gibbons still celebrates anyways. 5 catches, 44 yards. Chargers know they can go ahead and give up the touchdown as long as they make the Lions work for it and take time off. But instead of all that, they not only let the catch happen and let him get out of bounds, and unnecessary roughness as they hit him after he's out of bounds, I guess is the call. So there is the second stupid play, or third stupid play, second in the last couple minutes by the Chargers, as they allow a big play to get out of bounds and a penalty added on top of that. But luckily the Lions bail him out by running the ball and getting the clock moving again. So anytime the Chargers seem to do something stupid, the Lions do something just as stupid to fail to take advantage of anything. Plum on a screen pass here, gets it out to Lewis, and he'll walk into the end zone for the touchdown. So Plum finally has a touchdown pass. Lewis adds to his pretty decent day. A few offensive lines to have a decent day today. Of course, Nitrate Lane has showed up with 2 picks. Well, they have all 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. So onside kick coming up, but they still technically have a chance even if they don't get this one. Onside kick, not executed very well. Bambi picks it up. Lance Allworth, the rookie, wearing number 24 this year. And the Chargers are really a first down away from ending this thing. Or, you know, an offensive coordinator calling pass plays. Hadel to the end, or to the sidelines, and it is caught. So as long as the guy's going to catch it inbounds, then now wait a minute. Well, they're not going to show the replay, but I thought for sure he went out of bounds at some point in that play. I kind of thought his foot was out of bounds when he caught it, but even if not, he did take a step back, and his foot was out of bounds after the catch. And then he came back in and got tackled. They let the clock run, so the refs are not helping out the Lions at all. There you see Nitrate Lane asking if he is also supposed to score all the points, even though he's a defender. And up to Jackson, and Schmidt stops him in the backfield, and that is the timeout. First timeout called by the Lions, so now they clearly need an onside kick. They would need a stop here, hope for a missed or even a blocked field goal, and then get 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. Okay, well, block kicks have been a thing in Sack to the Future, that's for sure. And nobody needs one more than the Detroit Lions right here. If the field goal goes through the uprights, this thing is completely over. I mean, it's been over for a while, but Wood with the hold, kick is up, and it is good. So, 3-score game again. And the Detroit Lions, any fans that have stuck around so far are definitely exiting now. And we'll see if the Lions even decide to go ahead and throw the ball, or if they'll just try to keep everyone healthy and run out the clock here. Bill Plum has picked it up a little bit. Gotten himself to 150 yards, but he has been sacked 7 times. So, of course, no fear of Bill Plum getting injured. They will go with an empty backfield. And he'll go underneath the Gibbons. And the Chargers will let that happen all game. If they're going to go to Gibbons for 9 yards a pop, then they might get a touchdown with like 2 seconds to go. And Plum to Gibbons again. I told you the Chargers will let that play happen. Gibbons might end up with 20 catches, if that is what the Chargers desire, or Lions desire more than trying to actually put points on the board. And there's Plum to Gibbons again. 3 consecutive passes from Plum to Gibbons. Plum getting garbage yardage. It's as if this guy is Kirk Cousins. And Gibbons also getting garbage. There's a thing we have not seen before. Plum to Gibbons for another 7 or 8. Gibbons up to 9 catches for 82 yards. This is amazing if you have Gibbons on your fantasy team, as he is now up to 10 catches over 90 yards. I swear to God, if they go to Gibbons again over there, Milt Plum will throw it into the ground so that they can think of another play. Well, if anything, the Lions know that they have a play to Gibbons over the middle. Of course, the Chargers are playing prevent, so I don't know if that would work earlier in the game. Plum now on a different play will go to Brown across the middle. So, Plum showing that he can throw to people not named Gibbons. And then he'll spike the ball. No, he's not able to because the line jumps instead, which cost him 10 seconds. So instead of the ball into the ground at 32 seconds, they go back 5 yards and take the clock down to 22 seconds. Classic Lions. Plum from the shotgun now. He will look for Gibbons, but they're covering him for once. And so instead, he's forced to go someone else, and look at that. It's a touchdown. And you know what? It's not a bad play, guys. Going to Tom Watkins, the back. And the Lions really had 3 backs. Petrosante, Watkins, and Lewis all shared time almost equally. But in this game, you've seen Lewis is by far got the most touches. And there's Watkins on that one, and Petrosante's had a couple, but it's been mostly a Lewis game. And so there you go. It's garbage yards, garbage points, and garbage yardage, but suddenly the Lions show that they put 24 points on the board and over 250 yards of offense. So at the beginning of the game, we showed you the Lions were ranked pretty high on offense, and that's going to help to the illusion that the Lions are a good offensive team, but really, there's just a bunch of garbage yardage there. And now Hadel will take a knee, and the Lions can't be stupid enough to call timeout. Yeah, they can. The Lions call timeout. And so we will have one more kneel down by John Hadel. And the Chargers will be 6-0, the first team in Sack to the Future 1962 to reach 6-0. Now, real quick, in 1960, the Bears completed the regular season undefeated at 16-0, but then lost their first playoff game, so that didn't mean anything. Last year, the Oilers made it, I believe, to 10 or 11-0 before falling, and that was to the Cowboys. So, interesting enough, the Bears playoff game that I talked about, that loss was to the Cowboys. So the Bears were beat by the Cowboys, and the Oilers were beat by the Cowboys, and now you have the Chargers and Texans are the undefeated teams. Who will be the last one standing? In any case, neither one of them play the Cowboys this year, so they do play each other, though. So if they split with each other, we will make sure we still have no undefeated teams. Or the Oilers could take care of the Texans in the next day or two. Alright, let's go ahead and skip some of these highlights so we can real quick catch you up on the injury to Keith Lincoln, and then we'll call it a day. Thanks for watching and viewing, everyone. Real quick as we get to that, again, the Sack to the Future channels are right here. Phantom Fighter, of course, then the Vinny X Wolf channel. That's also the channel that has the playlist from 1960, 61, and 62 if you want to get caught up and watch any games that you've missed. Then the John M channel and Tears 89. It's knee cartilage tear, 4 weeks. So Keith Lincoln will be out for 4 weeks. But again, that didn't bother the Chargers today. So the Chargers up to 6-0. Lions dropped to 2-4. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good day.